Yeah. So uh, if you remember what I had said, the grass that my horse bit, the turf that my servant cut, and the ore that I have dug out from somewhere in nature is mine by my labor. This is what uh, Locke says. So now what are we looking at? We are looking at property in a completely different sense. Land continues to be property, but there are other kinds of property as well. It is money, which is property, and you have property as in your ability to do wage labor, because capitalist society runs purely on exchange relationships. The solidarity between human beings, which was a characteristic up to the period which is uh, feudalism, till then, because in feudalism also, the feudal lord was in charge of the well-being of the family of the servants who were serving him, right? So there was human solidarity. If you look at the professional guilds, again, there was solidarity between various professional guilds or among members of a professional guild. All these were dissolved with capitalism. And what do we have? We have a society that is based entirely, entirely on exchange. If you still go to a Kirana store, for example, if you still have these small Kirana stores or very small uh, supermarkets that are privately owned by somebody who sits in that small Kirana store, or who is somebody who's sitting in the, what should I say, uh, who's sitting in that small supermarket, there is some relationship, okay? Because I buy medicines in bulk, um, the medical store people, they send medicines home. I don't have to go and pick them up. So that is the kind of a solidarity you still will find even in a capitalist society, when something is not a very big corporation. But just imagine, just imagine if you are looking at a large corporation, you have a TVS. Now, if you have to get it serviced, if you go to a private mechanic, it's okay. It's an older model, so there may be somebody to service it. But newer two-wheelers are all killing private mechanics simply because of the fact that in order to tune the engines of these new two-wheelers and four-wheeled automobiles, you require a lot of computerized equipment, which is not easily affordable. And the market dynamics have changed so much now that you need to also, there is a service history of your vehicle uh, from if you purchased it from a particular dealer, and you can see if that vehicle has been in an accident, if it has had major repairs. So this is a faceless thing. You're dealing with something. While you go to the showroom, you are basically, the salesperson is there saying, hello, please come, sir. I'll tell you what are the schemes that are available. Serve you a cup of coffee. If you say, no, I don't drink coffee, he'll even give you a cool drink, whatever. Okay, he'll do all that. But 2 months later, that guy is not in that same showroom because he's looking for greener pastures. And in his looking for greener pastures, he's moved his jobs. Mechanics change. So I go to Sundaram Honda to give my car for service. I don't see the same set of people every time I go there. You know, it's like a turnstile. People are changing all the time. So, what is the relationship that you have with these people? It's pure exchange. It's pure exchange. You pay something, they'll do the work for you, and they'll give you back your vehicle. There's no personal touch. If you forget the supermarkets, small supermarkets, the Kirana stores, which are now becoming a complete rarity. And if you go to, say, these supermarket chains, if you go to Ratnadeep or if you go to More, these are all owned by huge corporates. They are owned by very, very big corporates. And again, the employees are changing there. And even the employees who are there don't really try to build any kind of a relationship with you. They don't try to build any kind of relationship with you. You walk in, there's a trolley, you take the trolley, you go inside. All right, after you go inside, you pick up stuff, put it in the trolley, come to the payment counter. That there's a barcode, that guy keeps putting it on the barcode and gives you a bill. You can pay by credit card, or you can pay by debit card, or you can pay cash. That's it. That is the exchange relationship. Okay, you don't get to know the person to whom you're giving money because he's not taking the money. He's only, some kind of an agent who's taking the money and passing it on to the supermarket owners. Who are the supermarket owners? At one time, that was represented as a triangle. Okay, you have more workers at the bottom, then you have supervisors on the top, then you have managers even over the supervisors, and finally you have the owners. So it is a triangle represented like this, right? Now, I read the other day, uh, which is the very well-known thing that is going for an IPO. An IPO is an initial public offering. And once that happens, what kind of structure do you have? The ownership pattern changes. That organization, if you have done your public administration, you will know this. That organization is represented like this. Uh, just imagine that on top here there is a line, and the bottom here there is a line. Imagine a line here on the top. Okay, why? Because once you offer an IPO, then several people are buying the shares, and technically all shareholders holding,
Masala buns, sir.
sorry,
Masala buns.
masala bonds. Is
You
that
said
what?
that, yes, sir.
No, no.
IPO.
IPO is initial public offering, which is
These bonds are sold by share markets
share market. Yes.
through IPO.
Yeah. They are.
You said that you forgot some name of the thing.
No, the company, a very well-known company. It's a big company. It has decided to go for an IPO. It's kind of it's a consumer durables company, which is the one that has decided to go for an IPO, which means that that family will no longer own that. It will now be owned by, on the top also there's a triangle, there's a bottom, there's a triangle, so there's an intersection. Okay, and so the top, the triangle is all the people who bought a certain minimum number of shares. I think, Akshay, you're talking about MDH Masala. Uh, that went in. That also went in for an IPO after their patriarch, who used to appear in ads and say this and all that. After that man passed away, I think it went for an IPO, initial public offering, and it'll get listed on the share market, and trading will happen. So it's all very impersonal. It's all exchange relationships. And these exchanges are happening between people who don't know each other, right? So that is what you're seeing in the superstructure. That's what Marx will tell you. Therefore, capitalism and its processes are determining the nature of the superstructure, which is definitely true. Very, very definitely true. But if you do look at the fact that even a country like the United States of America, which didn't have any kind of welfareism, in 2008, thanks to the subprime housing loan crisis. You said you saw that movie, Capitalism, a Love Story. It went into uh, an economic depression. And because of that, the whole world, because now the global economies are all connected, right? Due to structural adjustment program and all that, the World Bank and the IMF have integrated all the economies into one global economy. So what happens in one economy gets transmitted to other economies as well. And especially if it is a big economy like America or China, not so much India, but yes, India too. If something goes wrong here, there will be repercussions, especially in the service sector. Now, the point is that you are not wrong in believing that the superstructure has changed because of the uh, changes in the base. But you cannot stop there when it comes to capitalism, because capitalism is a very, very resilient system. Unlike feudalism or the primitive societies, which are not resilient, and if they went into poverty, they didn't recover. Capitalism has shown that remarkable tendency to bounce back again. There are lots of people who are affected, jobs are lost, lives are lost simply because of the fact that they have no more earning, lives are lost, and you have a country when its wealth is depreciating, then of course everybody in the country suffers. But capitalism somehow or the other finds a way of, you know, uh, crossing these hurdles, these crises that it faces. Okay. Marx himself said there'll be a periodic uh, crisis in capitalism. And he said after some time, uh, capitalism will not have the resilience to overcome the periodic crises that it faces. And he was proved to be completely wrong, because it's showing tremendous resilience. Tremendous resilience. I mean, look at it. There's a pandemic going on. There's a pandemic going on. Please look at the share market in India. Look at the share market. Look at the Sensex. Look at the Nifty. Look at both these. Look at the indices or indexes, as they are called. The total number of points, it keeps crossing 50,000. It might fall back below, but again it rises while the pandemic is raging. While the pandemic is raging. Okay. So, on the one hand, you had a lockdown for some time. Then what did you do? You said unlock. Why unlock? Unlock because otherwise you lose money. And in capitalism, money is everything. Money is everything. And that's why I said we shouldn't be writing socialist in our preamble. We should remove that word socialist. There's nothing socialist about us. We are a completely capitalist country. Completely. At one time, you didn't allow people to come and trade in this country. Now, what are you doing? Father and son duo, KCR and KTR, have set up what are called chasing cells. Not their original idea. This was an idea of Chandrababu Naidu's. What is a chasing cell? A chasing cell consists of bureaucrats who run behind corporates and say, please set up your industry here. Please set up your industry here. Okay. So you are chasing investments. You're asking people to come to Telangana. Don't go to another state. Please come to Telangana. That's what I meant by competitive federalism. That's what I meant by competitive federalism. Previously, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka were chasing each other. Now we're competing with each other. Now with uh, the division of Andhra Pradesh, you have a tripartite competition for software industries. You have a quadrangular kind of uh, competition for manufacturing, because Tamil Nadu has a robust manufacturing sector, while Karnataka is not as robust as Tamil Nadu. It still has a robust manufacturing sector in its own way. And if you see, yeah, yes, Akshay.
Sir, behavioralism.
Yeah, I'll just let me finish this and we'll go to that. Yeah, so we're all chasing money, and all this is being done by the state. So the base superstructure model doesn't stand. To the extent that you saw it stand, yes, it is there. But we've gone beyond that. We have to look at the fact that the state is now, previously the bureaucrats sat like lords in front of the corporates who came for licenses. Now what are you doing? You're sending these bureaucrats, all these IAS officers are running behind corporations. They are actually running behind corporations. Let me just give you one example, Akshay, and then I'll finish the story. I think I told you that I was involved with animal rights, and there was a pet show that was being uh, organized by the animal welfare organizations, and this was being sponsored by Pedigree Foods. Okay. I don't know how many of you have dogs. Those of you who have dogs will know about Pedigree. And Pedigree is a global company. It's a global company. It came into India at that time, and they launched in the undivided Andhra Pradesh. So their global CEO, whose name was Mark Mascarenhas, Mascarenhas came to India. This was supposed to be held in Wesley College grounds in Secunderabad. Now, suddenly the police cancelled the permission. Okay, the police cancelled the permission for the event. The reason they cited was that the president, or what do we say, the president or prime minister of the Republic of Panama was coming, and so this was a part of the sterile zone, because that's where Begumpet Airport was. So they said no permission. Then I was approached and asked if I knew anybody in the police. I knew Aruna Bahuguna, who was then of the rank of the DIG, which is a pretty big rank. And I asked her, can you get police clearance for us? And she said no. So I was representing the animal welfare organizations, despite knowing me, and I told her the global CEO is here. All the preparations have been done. And if you cancel the permission to hold this event, then everything is going to go topsy turvy. We animal, because Pedigree was not only sponsoring the event, it was also promising us food for animals that were in different shelters and some monetary aid as well. And I said, this is going to be a very big setback for us. And she said, no, nothing can be done. And Mark Mascarenhas was staying in Taj Banjara. So I went and told him, I'm really sorry. I've tried my best. It didn't work. And this was supposed to be day after tomorrow. At this time in the evening, I told him I'm not able to do anything. So he said, for now, let's put things on hold. And he said, will you be able to come tomorrow morning? I thought about it because I had to go to work. But then I said, all right, I'll come in the morning. But what do you want me for? He said, please take me to whichever is the highest police uh, officer's office. Okay, I said fine, and I went at 9:30. That's the time that he said. He was ready. At 9:30, we went to the commissionerate of the city police, and they said you can't meet the commissioner without prior appointment. So this guy pulls out his card, gives it to that fellow, the guard who said you can't meet him without an appointment. He said, tell him that I am the CEO of a $600 billion company and I would like to meet him. Much to my shock, the commissioner comes out and says, please come. And I went in, and there was a team which came from Delhi. This was Grey Advertising, which was doing the PR for, it was doing the PR for, uh, what should I say, for Pedigree. So this man said, I spoke to your chief minister. I told him that we are setting up a manufacturing plant here. I told him we are going to set up a manufacturing plant here because he requested us to start the manufacture of pedigree in Andhra Pradesh. We honored his uh, invitation. The expenditure that I'm incurring in setting up this plant, he gave some figures. He gave that some nearly 1,000 people would be employed in that plant, and he said how much it's the initial distribution all over India would take place from Hyderabad. And he said, "You're denying us permission?" The commissioner was a little taken aback. The commissioner was completely taken aback, not a little. He said, "Please talk to," I said, I mean, he asked me, "Who's above him?" I said, "The Director General of Police." So I said, "Please talk. I'd like to speak to your Director General of Police." So this man said, "No, no, I'll talk to him." He said, "No, I want to talk to him." That man gives him a call, gives the phone to Mascarenhas, and Mascarenhas says, "I'm pulling out the investment. Tell this to your chief minister. I'm pulling out the investment. And you should have," I'm quoting him verbatim here, "you should have some shame. In your country, Panama is the name of a cigarette which is cheap, smoked by those who can't afford a good brand of cigarettes. It's a cheap cigarette. People in your country look down on Panama as a brand. And that banana republic, somebody comes, you want a sterile zone. What do you think will happen? People will assassinate him here. They'll assassinate him here. Is that how vulnerable your security is? Within no time, within no time, that man said, "No, no, 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 it's all a misunderstanding. I'm extremely sorry." And then he asked me, "You spoke to some lady yesterday who said nothing can be done. What's her name?" So I said, "Why do you want to drag her into this now?" He said, "No, she could have helped and she didn't." So I gave the name, and Aruna Bahuguna was disgraced simply because she didn't want to help. So that is the power of corporations. At one time, before there was this opening up of the capitalist economy, before you said no more licenses, before you set up chasing cells to go and get people, before you went out and started chasing people, when all these people sat like lords, the police officers, the IAS officers, they have now been reduced to, they will show their lordship over us. That's a different issue. But in front of money power, corporate power, what do you see? These people are now actually behaving like servants. Before I proceed further, Akshay, tomorrow I don't want to take a class with you people because you have an exam day after tomorrow and you have an exam on Saturday. So I don't want to take these evening classes for you people. So I see the time is getting to be 6:20, and I said this is going to be a 1 hour class. So I don't think we should start with behavioralism today. Uh, we'll start with it on Monday. Today, let me just talk about how this corporate power thing comes in, and I will tell you uh, what Noam Chomsky means by uh, what Noam Chomsky basically means by uh, manufacturing consent. So drive corporates drive the economy. So that is the reason why if you keep things closed for far too long, even in the pandemic, the corporates make losses. If they make losses, they quit. It's as simple as that. If you remember, I told you the concept of hot money. Money can move from one place to another place within a matter of 24 hours. And when I say 24 hours, I'm saying this in the context of moving millions of dollars. And in a service economy, in a service oriented economy, what is the investment that a particular corporation has? The rent it is paying for a building and for computer systems. Computer systems, they'll take what they can, but it's no big deal if they leave them behind because these depreciate like crazy. You might buy a Dell computer that costs 60,000 rupees. Use it for 4 months and try to sell. You won't get 20,000 for it. With very advanced features, laptop, very, very advanced features where you can do graphic design and all that. That kind of a computer. It depreciates. You buy a car, the moment you have driven it out of the showroom, it hasn't registered a single kilometer on the odometer. The value depreciates. If I bought it for 8 lakhs, I just drive it down the ramp with the invoice in my hand and I'd say, I'd like to sell this car for 8 lakhs. People will say, no, I'm not going to give you 8 lakhs. You'll probably get, if you're lucky, 7.5 lakhs. That's how things depreciate. So the whole corporate thing, if you look at why that Occupy Wall Street movement, it was people just ignored those people who were sitting on Wall Street with holding placards saying, give us back our homes. People were least bothered. People were least bothered. You are not people who can support the economy. You don't do anything. There's no way, there's no way in which anybody will listen to you. Sit there, sit there on Wall Street, occupy it, nothing will happen. So one day they all got up, dusted, and went. So that is the corporate power now. So Marx's theory of the determinant relationships between the economic base and a legal political superstructure, it held water in the initial phases of capitalism. But as capitalism has progressed and as it has become a global phenomenon, and if there is a crisis in one area, it can choose another area which is flourishing. It can choose another area which is flourishing, move the money to that market, move that money to that market, because that's where it's flourishing. Look at China. Hmm? We are talking about COVID-19. We are talking about, okay, the second wave is apparently subsiding, even though the other day the Hindu said something to the effect of, uh, when they did a factorial analysis, the most conservative estimate of the number of deaths and cases that have been underplayed or not shown properly, that was to a factorial of 12, right? And that is the conservative estimate. But they said if you actually take some parameters which we left out when we looked at the data, it came to 12 factorial. But if we take other things, please read that article, it came about 4 days back. Then, if they benchmarked it against Chennai, Bengaluru, and Mumbai, then the downplaying of number of cases, number of deaths could be up to 37.2 factorial. So why is Maya, I'm having a class. Why is the government playing down all these? Because if you don't play these down, then people will be afraid. If people are afraid, then they won't go out, they won't buy, they won't do anything which will add to the trade and commerce. Swiggy and Zomato are allowed to deliver even now when the curfew is supposed to be setting in at 6 o'clock or something. Even now, they are allowed to deliver food till 1 in the morning. Till 1 in the morning. Why? Industry has to survive. There are more and more people who don't cook because both husband and wife go to work. They all go to work, as a result of which nobody has the time to cook. So you rely on Swiggy, you rely on Zomato, and you rely on these eateries. Now, the eateries are fine. Instead of dining in their place, they are ordering food. So, in the pandemic, the delivery boys are thriving, the cooks are thriving because they need more cooks to prepare food urgently and send it as quickly as possible. So, the food industry is thriving. It is growing by something like 14% in the pandemic. It's growing by 14%. So that's economics for you. Capitalist business. That's how it runs. So all relationships now are exchange relationships. They're purely, unless and until you have something to exchange with someone, you don't have a necessity to talk to that person. I don't talk to my neighbor. Why don't I talk to him? I have nothing to buy from him, nor do I have anything to sell to him. So why should I talk to him? What will I talk to him? I won't talk. That's why we live in apartments. I don't, not yet. But people live in apartments. Your door and the other person's door are like this. There's only a thin brick wall separating you from them. Do you know who they are? Do you know who they are? You don't know who they are. You have absolutely no idea who they are. Why? Because you don't need to know them. So if you have any questions, ask me. Generally, not about this. You can ask me questions. And like I said, there'll be no class tomorrow for the next 3 days. Because you'll be busy preparing for your exams. So there'll be no evening class for the next 3 days. Any questions? You can ask me.
Sir, how do you learn new words? How do you? Is there any formula to remember new words? Vocabulary.
Well, I keep telling you, my father is my hero. My father studied in Urdu medium, but his English was impeccable. Impeccable. Both spoken English and written English. It was impeccable because he was taught the English alphabet by his father. He was made to read newspapers right from his childhood. And in those days, newspapers had very good quality English in them, which is something that you don't find today. Not only that, he met a gentleman in Mehboob Nagar when my grandfather was transferred from Hanumakunda to Mehboob Nagar. In Mehboob Nagar, he met a gentleman who had a collection of novels. Who were these novels by? These novels were by people like Somerset Maugham, written Maugham, Maugham, Somerset Maugham, Ernest Hemingway, Charles Dickens. He even read Jane Austen, even though their themes are women oriented. But because Jane Austen wrote impeccable English, in order to learn English, he read Jane Austen's novels. And he told me while I was growing up that I also have to read and not read trash, not pulp fiction, but you have to read good classics. You have to read that. That's how I developed the reading habit. When I was faced with a difficult word, this is my strategy that I used in life. When I was faced with difficult words, what I did was mentally, I would construct at least 5 or 6 different sentences using that particular word which I found difficult. First, difficult to understand. So I used to sit with the dictionary. And after that, I, after I've looked into the dictionary, after I've looked at the meaning, understood the word, then I used to construct 5 or 6 different kinds of sentences with it so that I won't forget the word. I won't forget its meaning. I won't forget the way in which it can be used. That's what I did. The next thing is,
Do you write those sentences in notebook or only remembering through brain?
sorry,
Do you write those sentences that you construct?
in my mind, I didn't write them down. But if you're comfortable writing, you write them down.
I see.
Some people don't need to write down. I'm one of those. Some people need to write down. I don't know which one of these. There's nothing superior or inferior about this. They're just 2 different kinds. That's all. So I used to construct them mentally. I used to keep constructing them mentally. And another thing is, I spoke in the English language as much as it was possible. I learned Hindi and Urdu, actually Urdu, not Hindi, by speaking in Urdu with my father. Though I didn't learn the alphabet, my Urdu is only spoken Urdu. I learned that from my father, and I also learned it from the various servants that we had who used to speak Urdu. So I used to learn from them. And with my father, uh, I used to mainly have a conversation in English with my father. That became a habit because I wanted to develop my language skills. So I wanted to do it even at home. So I would do that at home and I would speak with my father in English. And 2 days before he died, My father had a long conversation with me about something, and most of it was in English. And then he looked at me and said, "So, you're tired of the Sermon on the Mount? I can see that. Okay, you go now." That was the last proper conversation I had with him. And since my wife is half British and they only spoke English at home, though she knows other languages, we speak English. So that is how it works. So reading, constructing sentences either by writing or by just framing them in your mind, and by using the language for conversation, those are the best possible ways in which you can remember the language. Your vocabulary will improve. If you read good authors, if you read authors like Ken Follett, if you read authors like Dan Brown, why, for that matter, even if you read authors like John Grisham, your English will improve by leaps and bounds. And then, of course, don't read these cheapskate Indian textbooks. There are good Indian textbooks. Huh? I'm not saying all Indian books are cheapskate. Read books by people like Sudipto Kaviraj, Partha Chatterjee. Uh, Read books by Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak. Read books by all these people. And your language, initially, it will be a little daunting. And but nowadays, you have your cell phone. You don't even need a dictionary. So if you come across something like, say, a trope, or somebody says this is a Hegelian trope, then just search for what a Hegelian trope is, or a Vincian paradigm. Do a search and write as much as you can, not just for remembering words. Pick up a topic and write. Ask yourself an academic question. If you can't, I'll ask you. Write and show it to me. Only Padma, she's left now. She left long ago. Actually,
No, sir, I'm here.
oh, you're here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So she was the only one who has given me something written. I have today seen that Prashant also has given a very, very small piece. Uh, Prashant, I'll comment upon it to you later. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Because you went away in the middle. So after starting the discussion, you went away. All right. So therefore, read good books. Read good books. Read Thomas Hardy. That is another author that my father recommended. He used to recommend Somerset Maugham. The first book of his that I read was Of Human Bondage. And then he asked me to read Ernest Hemingway. There were a series of stories, and then he made me read Thomas Hardy, Far from the Madding Crowd, uh, Return of the Native, and all this because he had somebody who was his father's friend who had a collection of these books. He read them, bought them, and they were there. And I also told you I had medieval English books. Apparently, my grandfather used to read them. Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, then his Merchant of Venice, all those, they were there in medieval English. So you have to read, but only reading won't help. You have to use. You have to use. Since I'm giving you 3 days off, since I'm giving you 3 days off, I will give you a project. I want you to write. It's purely voluntary. If you don't want, you needn't. I can't force you. But I'm not saying write on whatever you like this time. I'm going to ask you to write on how to inculcate civic sense among Indians. Okay? One essay on how to inculcate civic sense in Indians. If you don't understand civic sense, check what it means. And then write 500 words, not more. And I'll give you another one, which is why we should be secular in order to be inclusive in development. Or if you want, I'll put that in an interrogative form. Should we be secular in order to have inclusive development? All right.
Repeat it, sir. Should we be?
Should we be secular or Catholic? Write that also. Either of them. Look for the meanings again. If you're, should we be secular? Or you can substitute secular with Catholic. In order to have inclusive development. And if you're writing Catholic here, please don't write it with a capital C, write it with a small c. Okay, not a capital C. If you write it with a capital C, then it becomes the Christian denomination. So use the small c. Will you do that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Rakesh,
Sir.
will you write?
Yes, sir.
Prashant,
Yes, sir.
you'll write 500 words, not more.
Yes, sir.
Let's make a modest beginning. 500 words. Ujjwala, are you there still?
Yes, sir.
Will you please write?
Yes, sir.
Anirudh, hello. Are you there, Anirudh?
Yes, sir.
Ah, I'm happy to see you, Anirudh. You're the only one who comes from your class. I'm always happy to see you. Will you write for me, Anirudh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So do that. Please write. And you can
There
mail
are
it.
some more people, sir.
Who is there? Kalpana, I saw. Kalpana. Kalpana, are you there?
Sir.
Will you write, ma'am?
No, sir.
You won't write. Okay. I'll deal with you. I will talk to you later as to how you have to build your confidence, Kalpana. You must build confidence. You should be able to write.
Okay,
I'll
sir.
I will help you with that. Okay. Who else is there? Who have I missed out? Out of the 9.
Rachana.
Hmm?
Rachana.
Rachna.
Sir.
Rachna, will you write on these?
Yes, sir. I will try my level best.
No, not try. Write.
I will write, sir. But
Yes. No, we all make mistakes. Okay. We all make mistakes. Nobody learned to do things without making mistakes. And you have lots of interesting questions to raise. So please write.
okay,
Okay?
sir.
Please write. Please write. Who else? Who else have I missed out? Uh, have I missed out anyone else?
Durga Prasad.
Durga Prasad. Are you there, Durga Prasad?
Yes, sir. I will write, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Durga Prasad. Please write. Is anyone else I have missed out? Akshay, Durga Prasad, Anirudh, Kalpana, Padma, Rachana, Prashant, Rakesh, Ujjwala. I think we've been through all of them. You can mail it to me. Here's my email ID. You can type them out. If you feel like it, you can type them out. Or if you want to mail as images, you want to send as images to my WhatsApp, do that. But if you want to mail, this is my email ID. This is my email ID for if you want to write, take a photograph and send it to this. Okay. Is that all right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, today I decided let's not start behavioralism. Once Mr. Prashant asked a question, because I realized that I shouldn't ask you to come to class tomorrow since you have exams tomorrow and day after. I can't ask you to come to class. All right. So take Saturday off. I have races to watch. Last week, for the first time in my life, I watched the 24-hour Le Mans superbike racing. 24 hours, people racing non-stop. It was shown at for periods of 4 hours like that. It was shown at different periods. So this is the first time I saw the Le Mans 24 hours motorcycle endurance championship, as it is called. This week, of course, there's MotoGP. So I'll be watching that. So send your answers when you finish writing. Yeah. Oh, yes, you're a cricket fan and you would love to watch. Yes, yes. Ma'am, by all means, watch. We shouldn't be one-dimensional people. So please watch the World Test Championship. I was crazy about cricket at one time. I played for my school. I was wicketkeeper and opening batsman. I dabbled
One more.
in.
So then how did you lose your interest and why?
I didn't lose my interest. I watch cricket.
But you never
I
tell,
don't
you always,
say it. I don't
yeah.
say it. Because this is far more passionate for me. I don't know why. I used to play cricket, and I think I'm the only person in Hyderabad who watches Doordarshan Sports because they show table tennis. I was a state level table tennis player, and I even played in the South Zone Championships and reached the quarterfinals. So I was also in the junior state team for swimming, breaststroke swimming. I was in it. Didn't win any in that, but and I played basketball, so I also watch NBA. I'm a big fan of Kobe Bryant, and I was very sad when he died. And cricket, my father used to joke with me, and he used to say, "You," I had a actual photograph of Gavaskar, and he used to say, "Okay, you." After I got up and was ready to go to school, he would say, "Go, go, do namaste to your God and go." So Gavaskar was my hero in cricket, as was G.R. Vishwanath, who I think was a far more stylish batsman than Gavaskar, who himself was a very stylish batsman. Yeah. And I played cricket with Azharuddin. I bowled to him and he hit me out of the ball out of the ground. But I continued to bowl to him. I used to bowl to him in the nets in Nizam College. So, ma'am, please don't think
Wow, so interesting.
Hmm, I played with Azharuddin.
Nice.
Hmm. So, he was my
What a
senior.
childhood you had, sir.
I had a damn good childhood.
Really, sir, fantastic.
Yes.
Surprised, sir, I'm really.
No, I keep telling everybody I come from a privileged background. Not monetarily, but this way, yes. I've had exposure to so many things. I played basketball for my school. I used to play basketball for my school. So that's how it is. So all the best. Not really. Now, yes, I'm an all-rounder. All.
Sir, not like that.
What a correct description you found for
No,
me.
no, no.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail where it needs to be hit. I am an all-rounder. I'm all round. Good word. Thanks. Now you've told me something about myself. A new word to use on myself. I'm an all-rounder. I like it. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So all the best for your exams.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But we have a class with you tomorrow morning,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
which I'll only tie up Aristotle. Okay. I'm not going to start anything new tomorrow. I thought we didn't have a class tomorrow and I hurried through the last parts. So I'll just tie them up a little. And if you have any questions, I'll answer. But I won't start anything new tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay,
All
sir.
right. All
Thank
right.
you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Akshay.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank
sir.
you. Bye.